Ambassador David Reeves had been stationed at the Valith Royal Palace for 3 months, and he'd learned that formality governed everything. The Valith were an ancient species with intricate protocols for every interaction. Their distinctive pointed ears tracked every sound with precision. Their skin shifted through luminous colors reflecting emotional states, and their culture treated every conversation as a potential political statement requiring careful navigation. Princess Lysera, the crown princess and heir apparent, embodied this formality perfectly. In all their diplomatic interactions, formal dinners, treaty negotiations, ceremonial functions, she'd been unfailingly polite, diplomatically precise, maintaining exactly the proper distance between ambassador and royalty. David respected her competence and grace, but their relationship was entirely professional, bounded by protocols neither dared breach. Which made it profoundly strange when David's door chimed at midnight and he found Princess Lysa standing in the corridor. She wasn't wearing royal regalia, just simple civilian clothes that David hadn't known she owned. Her skin was cycling through colors he'd learned indicated anxiety and uncertainty. Her ears were flat against her skull, a sign of distress. She glanced down the corridor nervously before meeting his eyes. "Ambassador Reeves," she said quietly, "I apologize for the late hour, but may I use the shower in your quarters?" David's brain struggled to process this request. The palace had hundreds of bathrooms. Lysa had entire royal suites with facilities that made his modest ambassador's quarters look primitive. Why would the crown princess need to use his shower? But her ears were flat with genuine distress, and her skin kept flickering through colors that suggested she was afraid. "Of course, Your Highness," David said, stepping aside. "Is something wrong?" Lysa entered quickly, glancing back down the corridor as if concerned about being seen. Once David's door closed, she turned to him, and her formal composure cracked slightly. "My quarters are monitored," she said in a rush, her voice barely above a whisper. "Every room in the royal wing has surveillance for security purposes, audio, visual, everything. Your quarters don't. Diplomatic immunity means we can't surveil foreign ambassadors without their consent." Her skin darkened with what David recognized as shame or embarrassment. I need 1 hour where I'm not being watched, where I can exist without performing for security protocols, where I can feel like a person instead of a political asset under constant observation." David understood now. This wasn't about the shower. This was about sanctuary. "Take your time," he said, gesturing toward the bathroom. "I'll be out here if you need anything." Lysa's skin shifted to surprised golds. "You're not going to ask why I'm really here, or what I'm planning, or report this security breach to my father's council. You came here because you needed somewhere safe," David said simply. "I don't need to interrogate that or turn it into a diplomatic incident." For the first time in 3 months, Lysa's formal mask cracked completely. Her skin cycled through colors David had never seen before: relief, gratitude, something that might have been the Valith equivalent of tears. She nodded once, then disappeared into the bathroom. David heard the shower start, and then, beneath the sound of water, he heard something else. Crying. Not dramatic sobbing, but quiet, exhausted tears of someone who'd been holding everything together for too long and finally had space to fall apart. David sat in his quarters, trying to respect Lysa's privacy, while being acutely aware that the crown princess of a major alien empire was having an emotional breakdown in his bathroom. He pulled up diplomatic files on his datapad, pretending to work while actually just staring at the same page. After nearly an hour, the shower stopped. Several minutes later, Lysa emerged. Her skin was calmer now, soft blues and silvers that David's cultural training said indicated emotional exhaustion, but also peace. Her hair was still damp, and she looked more vulnerable than David had ever seen her. "I'm sorry," she said quietly. "That was unprofessional." "It was human," David replied, then caught himself. "Or Valith, whatever. It was real and you clearly needed it." Lysa hesitated, then sat in the chair across from David's desk, her formal posture relaxing slightly, something he'd never seen her do in any official setting. "Do you know what it's like to never be alone?" she asked, not quite meeting his eyes. "To know that every moment of your life is documented, analyzed, evaluated by people who are supposed to serve you but actually control you. I can't have a private conversation with friends. Can't express frustration or doubt. Can't have a moment of weakness or spontaneity. Everything I say and do is recorded and reviewed for security purposes and proper royal conduct. Her skin darkened to troubled grays. Tonight I needed 1 hour where I could be Lissa instead of Lysera, royal heir to the Valith throne, where I could cry or laugh or just exist without wondering who's watching and what they're writing in their reports. David set down his datapad. How long has it been like this? Since I was crowned heir at 16, 8 years. Her ears drooped. 8 years of constant surveillance, constant performance, constant evaluation. My father means well. The security is genuinely for protection, but it's also control. Making sure I'm properly performing my role, properly representing the throne, properly being shaped into the ideal ruler. But losing yourself in the process, David said quietly. Lissa's skin flashed with colors that looked like grateful recognition. Yes, exactly that. She looked at him with an intensity that made her skin shift through complex patterns. Do you know why I keep requesting you for diplomatic functions? Why I schedule more meetings with Earth's ambassador than with any other foreign representative? I assumed it was strategic importance. It's because you're the only person in this palace who treats me like a person first and remembers the title second, Lissa interrupted. Everyone else, my advisors, my family, even my friends, they see Crown Princess before they see me. They defer, they flatter, they never disagree or challenge. But you, her skin shifted to warm golds. You ask my actual opinion. You disagree when protocols allow. You treat me with respect but not excessive formality. It's the only genuine interaction I have. David realized his casual diplomatic approach, treating Lissa as a competent leader worth engaging rather than just deferring to royal authority, had been revolutionary in a court where no one ever challenged or questioned her. Coming here tonight, Lissa continued, asking to use your shower under the flimsiest pretense. This is the most autonomous decision I've made in months. And knowing that for 1 hour, absolutely no one was watching me, evaluating my performance, documenting my behavior. It was the closest I've felt to freedom in years. Lissa visited David's quarters twice more over the following weeks. Always late at night, always after most palace personnel had retired, always under the same pretense. David never questioned it. They didn't do anything improper, mostly they just talked. About governance philosophy and whether effective leadership required sacrificing personal identity. About dreams Lissa had abandoned when she became heir. She'd wanted to study xenobiology, to actually understand alien species rather than just negotiate with them. About what it meant to be yourself when the world demanded you be a symbol. David became Lissa's confidant, the only person in the palace who knew how much the perfect crown princess struggled under expectations and constant surveillance. He learned that her seemingly flawless diplomatic performances were carefully rehearsed responses to predicted scenarios. That she had panic attacks before major ceremonies but couldn't let anyone see. That she envied David's ability to make mistakes and learn from them without those failures being permanently documented and analyzed. But the third visit was interrupted. David's door opened without warning. Diplomatic immunity apparently had limits when crown princesses were involved, and Royal Guard Commander Thexvan entered with 2 security officers. Their skin was dark with formal authority. Lissa's skin immediately shifted to formal royal colors, her vulnerable expression replaced by the mask David had watched her wear in public. "Commander," she said with icy authority, "you will explain this intrusion into diplomatic quarters." "Your Highness," Thexvan said carefully, his ears positioned in respectful but firm stance, "your late-night visits to Ambassador Reeves' quarters have been noted by palace security. For your safety and reputation, we must request these visits cease or be properly chaperoned according to royal protocol." David saw Lissa's skin cycle rapidly through colors, anger, shame, fear, before settling into something he'd never seen before. Defiant determination. "No, Your Highness." "I said no, Commander." Lissa stood, her ears positioning in what David had learned meant absolute authority being asserted. "Ambassador Reeves' quarters are the only space in this entire palace where I am not under constant surveillance, where I can exist as a person rather than a political performance, where I can speak freely without every word being documented and analyzed." Her skin flashed with colors so bright they made the security officers step back. If you take that away from me, if you insist on monitoring and controlling even this one space where I have some measure of privacy, then you're saying that my entire life must be under observation for the convenience of others, that I have no right to personal space, no right to genuine human connection, no right to exist except as managed political asset. She turned to face David, then back to Thexvon. I am crown princess and future ruler of this empire. I will not spend my entire life being treated as property that requires constant supervision. Ambassador Reeves has provided me sanctuary in a palace that should be my home but feels like a prison. That ends now. The room held tense silence. Finally, Thexvon's skin shifted to troubled colors. Your Highness, the council will need to address this matter. Then they will address it, Lissa said firmly. But I will not apologize for seeking the basic dignity of private space and genuine conversation. Tell the council that when they convene. The confrontation became catalyst for change neither David nor Lissa had anticipated. Lissa formally demanded modification of surveillance protocols, not complete removal, which security genuinely needed for protection, but reasonable privacy in personal quarters and the right to unmonitored conversations with trusted individuals. Her father's counsel resisted. They argued that constant observation ensured her safety, prevented manipulation by foreign powers, maintained proper royal conduct. The underlying message was clear. They wanted control more than they wanted her well-being. But Lissa leveraged David's diplomatic status and humanity's strong cultural emphasis on personal privacy to force compromise. If the Valith Empire wanted strong alliance with Earth, they couldn't be seen denying their own crown princess the privacy rights that humanity considered fundamental. The final agreement included modified surveillance in royal quarters, cameras in public spaces but not private areas, audio monitoring only during official functions, and explicitly protected time for personal conversations. It wasn't perfect, but it was progress. I couldn't have done this without you, Lissa told David during one of their now-sanctioned private meetings. You gave me space to remember what autonomy felt like. That made me brave enough to demand it formally. You did this yourself, David replied. I just provided the bathroom. Lissa laughed, genuine, unguarded laughter that made her skin flash with joyful golds. You provided sanctuary. There's a difference. Months later, when Lissa was formally crowned empress, her father's planned abdication proceeding as scheduled, one of her first official acts was formalizing privacy rights for all royal family members. The press called it modernization of ancient protocols. David knew it was Lissa ensuring no future heir would have to seek sanctuary in a foreign ambassador's bathroom just to feel like a person. When reporters asked David about his relationship with the new empress, he gave his standard diplomatic answer. I had the privilege of seeing Her Majesty as a person before seeing her as a symbol. That trust informed everything that followed. Lissa, in her own public addresses, was characteristically more direct. Ambassador Reeves offered me sanctuary when I needed it most, not romantic sanctuary or political alliance, but the simple human dignity of space to exist without constant observation and evaluation. That gift taught me that genuine leadership requires seeing people as people, not just managing them as political assets. She paused, her skin cycling through thoughtful colors. Sometimes the most important diplomatic act is recognizing when someone needs refuge and providing it without judgment or expectation. Sometimes the most revolutionary thing you can do is treat royalty like they're human. David continued serving as Earth's ambassador to the Valith Empire for 3 more years. His relationship with Empress Lissa remained professional but genuine, built on that foundation of trust established during midnight visits that were never really about the shower, because they'd learned that formality often hides profound isolation. That surveillance creates performance rather than authenticity. That's sometimes the most important thing you can offer another person, princess, empress, or otherwise, is simple respect for their right to exist without being constantly watched, evaluated, and controlled. And that trust, once established in moments of vulnerable honesty, can reshape everything that follows, including empires.